Read. The first command and the universe as a book. What if the very first word ever spoken to humanity by the divine wasn't a law, wasn't a prohibition, a warning, or even a promise? What if it was simply, read? That's where it begins. Not with obey, not with fear, not with bow down, but with an invitation to understand. And that changes everything. Think about what it means to read, not just to look at symbols on a page, but to genuinely receive meaning, to let something outside of you enter into you and rearrange how you see the world. Reading is an act of humility. You quiet yourself. You follow something that isn't yours. You allow another intelligence to lead your mind somewhere it couldn't have gone alone. Now look at the universe. Every atom, every galaxy, every law of physics operating in perfect silence, in perfect order, every single second, without negotiation, without exception, without failure. What is that, if not a text? The ancient philosophers asked, why is there something rather than nothing? But maybe the deeper question is, why is there order rather than chaos? Why does the same law of gravity behave identically in a remote jungle as it does in a galaxy 4 billion light years away? Why does the same mathematical structure appear in a Nautilus shell, a hurricane, and the spiral arms of the Milky Way? Order on that scale doesn't happen. Order on that scale is written, and if it's written, then it can be read. This is the idea at the heart of something profound, that the universe is not a random explosion of matter stumbling toward entropy. It's a living library. Every rock, every organism, every electromagnetic wave, each one is a sentence in a text that has been unfolding for 14 billion years. The stars aren't just burning balls of gas, they're words. The DNA in your cells isn't just chemistry, it's language. The way a child learns to walk, falling, recalibrating, rising, that's not failure and success. That's grammar. The grammar of becoming. Every creature on earth, in a sense, is writing, recording its existence through every interaction, every adaptation, every death and every birth. But humans alone are tasked with something more. We don't just write, we read. We step back from the text and ask, what does this mean? That's the extraordinary burden and the extraordinary privilege of consciousness. Now here's where it gets interesting, because reading is not the same as glancing, and understanding is not the same as knowing, and knowing is not the same as living what you know. There's a whole ladder here. You can look at a mountain and never really see it. You can hear an idea and never actually receive it. You can understand something intellectually and still let it die in your mind without ever letting it change how you live. And you can change how you live and still never pass that understanding on to anyone else. Each rung of that ladder is a different act, and most of us spend our whole lives stuck on the first or second rung, mistaking familiarity for understanding. The universe doesn't care about familiarity. It rewards attention. It rewards the willingness to go deeper, to move from the surface of things into their structure, and from their structure into their meaning. Science, at its best, does exactly that. Every discovery in physics, in chemistry, in biology, every time a human being peers through a microscope or a telescope and sees something that shouldn't be there but is, that's a form of reading. That's the universe handing us another page, and we should celebrate that. Genuinely, the scientists, the researchers, the curious minds who dedicate their lives to decoding the laws of this cosmos. They are doing sacred work. whether they know it or not. They are translating a text written in mathematics and matter into a language that human beings can use. But here's the tension. When we discover a law of nature, there's a temptation, a very human temptation, to stop there, to say, we found the mechanism, therefore there is no author. To look at the grammar and conclude, there is no poet. That's like reading Shakespeare and deciding that because you understand iambic pentameter, the plays wrote themselves. The discovery of the how does not erase the mystery of the why. In fact, the deeper science goes, the stranger and more improbable the precision becomes. The fine-tuning of physical constants, the exact conditions required for carbon to form in stars, the razor-thin parameters that allow for a universe capable of producing anything that thinks about itself. This is not a universe that tolerates chance. This is a universe that looks, the more you study it, increasingly deliberate. And yet, and this is equally important, recognizing design doesn't mean abandoning inquiry. Quite the opposite. The great traditions of wisdom have always said, learn, study, investigate, push the boundaries of what is known, because every layer of understanding you reach is a deeper conversation with the intelligence embedded in creation. But they've also said, be careful, because there is a kind of knowledge that inflates the ego instead of expanding the soul. A kind of progress that makes us faster and louder and more powerful, without making us wiser or more humane. We are living in that moment right now. Technology accelerates. Information multiplies. We can do more than ever before. But are we reading more carefully? Or are we skimming? Are we treating the world and the people in it as a laboratory for our ambitions rather than as a text deserving our reverence? There's a warning buried in this. Don't turn the world into a lab rat. Don't treat human beings as variables in an experiment. The same intelligence that allows you to split the atom also demands that you ask, should I? And for whom? And at what cost? So where does this leave us? With a word. One word that has echoed across millennia, that arrived not as a burden, but as an opening. Read. Read the world around you, not just with your eyes, but with your full attention. Read the patterns in history, in nature, in the people you love and the people you struggle to understand. Read yourself, the fears, the longings, the recurring failures that are themselves a kind of text, trying to tell you something. Read the silence, because the deepest truths have never been loud. And when you've read long enough and carefully enough, you'll begin to sense what the greatest minds in every tradition have sensed, that there is a coherence to all of this, a design behind the disorder, a mercy woven into the mathematics. The universe has been waiting patiently for you to finally look up from the noise and read.